I dag skal vi prøve at reagere på nogle af de værste transfers i historien. Jeg tænker, en af dem, der ligger deroppe, det må være Matt til Relevant Podcast. Andre forslag, I har?
JK FIFA til Ambush.
Hvad? Han violater dig, og så kører du hen på mig.
Okay. Got that. Fuck.
Let's go.
For helvede, jamen Krause har aldrig været relevant nok
til
at lave
en transfer.
Jeg
tænkte, du lavede sådan, din mor i min seng, eller sådan noget fucking cringe ass shit.
Nej, men du nåede heldigvis ikke at høre, at jeg sagde, at du ikke var relevant nok til at lave en transfer, så...
Jeg siger Darwin Núñez til Liverpool, han er finished.
Okay. Okay, on a real though, hvad siger vi? Jamen altså, Hazard til Real Madrid er sådan ret oplagt.
Coutinho Barca var fandme også dårlig.
I forhold til mange penge, ja, så...
Ja, for pengene. Jeg tænker også primært penge, men der er selvfølgelig også nogen, der måske er købt for det lidt, som har vundet... Altså for eksempel Pogba. Han er ikke købt for meget,
men det er igen sådan nogle, jeg ved ikke hvordan, men sådan, man tænker ikke over det, fordi han netop har de der glims der, hvor Coutinho han aldrig rigtig havde glemt. Jo, han havde en, og det var vandt Champions League for Bayern mod Barca.
Ja. Så ja, lad os se, hvem der er på listen.
Nothing gets football fans excited like a new signing, but sometimes dream buys turn into nightmares. Success is never guaranteed, no matter what the size of transfer fee or player's talent. For every bargain buy, there's usually a flop to be found elsewhere. Here are some of the worst transfers in football history.
Ej, han skal være i top 10.
Kaká to Real Madrid. Kaká became the most expensive player of all time when Real Madrid signed him for 67 million euros. But the former Ballon d'Or winner never replicated his AC Milan form at the Bernabeu. At his best, Kaká was a world-class attacking midfielder, but injuries robbed him of his speed and dynamism. Pelé once described Kaká as the complete player. But sadly, he wasn't that at Madrid. Kaká lost his confidence in Spain. That contributed to his dip in performance. Even when he was fit, Jose Mourinho preferred to play Mesut Ozil or Angel Di Maria in his position. In his last 4 years at Milan, Kaká scored 70 goals and provided 39 assists in Serie A and the Champions League. In his 4 years at Madrid, Kaká scored 28 goals and provided 26 assists in La Liga and the Champions League. That's a big drop-off. He eventually went back to Milan, but he was never the same player after leaving the Italian side the first time.
Er han ikke en af de spillere, man ikke kan have?
Kaká han er klart en af dem.
I guess. Problemet er bare lidt, at jeg føler sådan stadig, jeg er ikke sådan så nok fodbold der, sådan way back til. Jeg har sgu ikke lige set ham sådan helt agtig.
Har du set ham her?
Robinho?
Ja.
Ja, nej.
Jeg tror godt, man kan have ham i hvert fald.
Det er der god grund til.
Robinho to Manchester City. You know, it's easy to forget now, but Robinho was once considered the most talented young player in the world. Many people thought he'd go on to dominate the game like Messi or Ronaldo have done. Robinho joined Manchester City from Real Madrid for £37.2 million. He didn't make a good first impression, though. Chelsea made a great proposal, and I accepted, he said, forgetting which club he'd signed
for. Det er rigtigt. Han vidste ikke, han skiftede til City.
Robinho actually had a decent start at City. He scored 12 goals in his first half season there. But the Brazilian soon became more of a hindrance than a help. He wasn't a popular figure in the dressing room either, and manager Mark Hughes was annoyed with his late-night partying. The goals soon dried up, and Robinho found himself out of the team. City admitted defeat and loaned him back to Santos before Robinho joined AC Milan in 2010. City had to write this one off as an expensive mistake.
Jeg tænker, de klarer den.
True. Jeg tænker bare alligevel, altså Robinho er sådan en af de der klassiske, sådan, har talentet, har ikke mentaliteten.
Fuldstændig. Altså, true. Hvor mange år har han egentlig tilbage?
Det ved jeg sgu ikke.
Altså, spiller, altså sådan...
Nej, han er i fængsel for voldtægt.
Han er i fængsel, ja.
Han fik 9 år, mener jeg. Jeg ved ikke lige.
Jeg kan ikke huske, hvor meget det var. Der har ikke styr på detaljerne.
Ja, okay. Men ja, han er også 38, typisk.
Well, han er literally finished i hvert fald.
Han er finished. Det er han.
Ja. Hazard to Real Madrid.
Det er frygteligt desværre, sådan
han er. Moved to Real Madrid for years. In 2009,
ikke samme årsager selvfølgelig,
got his wish, with Madrid paying 100 million euros to sign the Chelsea forward.
Det er så synd.
It might actually have been even more expensive than that. Reports suggest the fee was more like 160 million euros. Either way, Madrid haven't had their money's worth. The club hoped Hazard could help fill the void created by Cristiano Ronaldo's departure. But in his first season and a half at the Bernabeu, Hazard has made just 35 appearances. The Belgian has suffered with various injury problems, which is surprising because he played almost every week throughout his Chelsea career.
Han
When he's been fit,
Chelsea.
Madrid haven't got the best out of him. Hazard is a shadow of his former self. He's scored only 4 goals so far.
Der var måske undervurderet medical team, hvor vigtigt det er.
Angel Di Maria to Manchester United. When Angel Di Maria signed for Man United, the fans must have thought the good times were on their way back to Old Trafford. Van Hall had replaced David Moyes as manager, and United had just signed a world-class star in Di Maria. They broke the British transfer record to buy him, spending £67.5 million in 2014. Di Maria scored a memorable goal into the net against Leicester, but that was about as good as it got for the attacking midfielder. It's still surprising that Di Maria flopped in the Premier League. He was brilliant for Real Madrid beforehand and has been great for PSG since then. The transfer goes to show that footballers are human beings too. Van Hall didn't get the best out of Di Maria on the pitch, but the player had problems away from the field too. His wife struggled to settle in England, and the whole family was shaken up when burglars tried to break into their house. In the end, United were happy to let Di Maria go after just 1 year there. Kepa Arrizabalaga to Chelsea. Chelsea broke the world transfer record for a goalkeeper when they signed Kepa for £72 million. Thibaut Courtois, who joined Real Madrid. They soon changed their mind though. Kepa didn't do too badly at first, but as time went on, errors began to creep into his game. He also caused a major scene at Wembley when he refused to be substituted in the League Cup final. Maurizio Sarri wanted to bring him off before the penalty shootout, but Kepa stayed in goal. Man City won the shootout and lifted the trophy.
Well, Kepa tog faktisk straffespark i det shootout.
Man skulle ikke have taget flere.
Der var en, hvor han også var rimelig tæt på. Men altså, vi tabte basically, fordi vores spillere var shit. Jo, men det var også det. Så han kunne godt have gjort det bedre. Men altså, at tage et straffespark, det er allerede sådan det, man kan forvente af en målmand. Eller man burde forvente af en målmand. Jeg synes ikke, det er hans skyld. Men, hey.
Finished the season with a save percentage of 54.5%, the worst in the Premier League. That means that almost half the shots he faced went in. In the end, Chelsea had to hold their hands up and admit they'd made a massive blunder. The Blues signed Edouard Mendy as their new number 1 in 2020, and Kepa was relegated to the bench. When Kepa eventually leaves Stamford Bridge, Chelsea won't get anything like the $72 million they paid for him. Alexis Sanchez to Manchester United. Manchester United announced the signing of Sanchez.
Well, they were fucking karma.
Supposedly playing the piano, but whenever the Chilean was on the pitch for United, he hit all the wrong notes. Sanchez arrived at Old Trafford as part of a rare swap deal that sent Henrik Mkhitaryan to Arsenal. Because there was no transfer fee, United handed Sanchez a whopping contract. According to reports, the forward earned an eye-watering, wait for it, £390,000 a week. Made him one of the best paid footballers on the planet. But his performances definitely didn't match his salary. Sanchez had already been showing signs of decline at Arsenal. He'd lost some of his pace and intensity because of injuries and a packed schedule for club and country. Still, United fans expected a bit more than 5 goals in 45 games. Things got so bad that the former Arsenal star admitted he wanted to rip up his contract. United eventually loaned him to Inter. They were so desperate to get rid of him that they even agreed to pay more than half his salary. Andrei Shevchenko to Chelsea. Andrei Shevchenko was supposed to be the cherry for Chelsea. Jose Mourinho had just led the club to back-to-back Premier League titles, and Shev was seen as the man who could bring them the Champions League. Well, that's how Roman Abramovich saw it anyway. Shevchenko had scored 127 goals in 208 games for AC Milan. He was a Ballon d'Or winner and a proven goal scorer. Mourinho wasn't so sure though. He didn't actually want Shevchenko, but Abramovich overruled him and spent £30.8 million on the Ukrainian. Now that might seem like small change these days, but that was a huge amount back in 2006. Shevchenko played 30 Premier League games in his debut season, but he couldn't adapt to English football and scored just 4 goals. He was a bit better the following season, but injuries forced him to miss a lot of games. When Luis Felipe Scolari decided he didn't want him, Shevchenko's time at Chelsea was over. No one at Stamford Bridge was sad to see him go. Carlos Tevez to Shanghai Shenhua. Football in China is growing, and the Chinese Super League has attracted some big stars in recent years. Some players have been successful in the Far East. Others, like Tevez, have not. Tevez's best years were behind him when he joined Shanghai Shenhua in 2016. but he was still more than good enough to do well in China, which is a bit of a step down from Europe. Sadly, it seemed like Tevez couldn't be bothered. The striker was known for his aggression and fighting spirit at Man City, Man United and Juventus, but he didn't have the same hunger with Shenhua. Tevez scored just 4 goals in 16 games in the Chinese Super League. He was criticised by his manager for being overweight. He even described his time in China as a holiday. And he didn't come cheap either. Shanghai Shenhua reportedly forked out $40 million on Tevez's wages, which means each goal cost them $10 million. Andy Carroll to Liverpool. Everyone remembers Chelsea signing Fernando Torres for £50 million in 2011. That deal has overshadowed Liverpool paying $35 million for Andy Carroll the very same day. Torres was a big letdown at Chelsea, but at least he scored some important goals. That strike against Barcelona will live long in the memory of every Chelsea fan. The same can't be said for Carroll. He was an effective striker for Newcastle.
Han var så god i Newcastle.
He didn't fit in with Liverpool's style. Carroll was an old-fashioned target man, and he looks like a fish out of water at Anfield. Carroll only scored 6 Premier League goals for Liverpool.
Det Nunes, det der.
The Reds let him go after making a £20 million loss on the man they hoped would replace Torres. It wasn't all bad news, though. Liverpool also signed Luis Suarez in that same January 2011 transfer window. Philippe Coutinho to Barcelona. When Barcelona signed Philippe Coutinho, they hoped he'd make an impact in the Champions League knockout stage. That's what he did in 2020. But Barcelona weren't celebrating. Coutinho scored against them during a loan spell at Bayern Munich, as Barcelona were thrashed 8-2. Some Liverpool fans wondered how they'd cope without Coutinho when he joined Barcelona in 2018. Their worries were eased, though, by the huge €160 million transfer fee. Barcelona thought Coutinho would be a long-term replacement for Andre Iniesta. That always seemed like a mistake, though. Coutinho's not a central midfielder, and he'd been successful at Liverpool in a more attacking role. The problem was Coutinho wasn't a good fit for Barcelona in that position either. With Messi and Suarez guaranteed to start, Barca needed their third forward to have some speed. Coutinho was a square peg in a round hole. Coutinho's been more involved since Ronald Koeman took over at the Camp Nou, but he still goes down as the worst ever transfer. So, who else would you put on the worst transfer list? Let us know in the comments section below. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this one.
Chris Mann også, selvfølgelig.
Selvfølgelig, ja. Jeg ved ikke, hvorfor de viste Hudson Odoi. Han er literally ikke en transfer.
Han er ikke akademi.
Jo. Tæller det, men I don't know.
Random. Men ja, så,
han er for shit.
Så er der sådan Chris Mann også, når man lige så det. Sådan,
ja, det er faktisk vildt, hvad der er sket med ham.
Ja. Der er en del, men der er også en del, der forhåbentlig har set med på videoen her.
Krause, der er god.
Tak, bro. Ja, anyways, jeg er faktisk virkelig træt.
Okay.
Så jeg skal lige, skal vi bare sige... Sorry, jeg faldt lidt blød hen. Ja, anyways, tak fordi I så alle sammen. Vi ses igen i morgen på kanalen klokken 17. Peace out.